This is Unit 1, Level 1, Order of Operations. Order of operations are simply the rules that say which calculation will come first in an expression. And you'll often see it with this acronym, and a lot of people will say PEMDAS or PEMDAS. Some of us older folks will say, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, because that's the way that we learned it. It all means the same thing. First, I want you to look at this problem that I have down here. I'm going to call this the Chick-fil-A problem. This Chick-fil-A problem will show you why order of operations is important. When I look at this first line and I see that it has 3 cups, they're all the same, and they equal 30. So some number plus some number plus some number is going to be 30. Well, if I split 30 into 3s, I'm going to get a total of 10. So 10 plus 10 plus 10 is equal to 30. On this next problem, I know that the Chick-fil-A cup is 10, based on what I learned in the first line. And I know that I'm trying to get to the number 20. But I have these 2 sandwiches left. Well, if I take 10 off of 20, I'm going to be left with 10. If I take that 10 and I split it between these 2 sandwiches, they'll each be worth 5. So 10 plus 5 plus 5 is equal to 20. So if I take what I learned above, I know that the sandwich in this third line is 5, plus I have some fries. The fries are, well, if I take the 5 away from the 9, I'm going to be left with 4. So these fries, and notice there are 2 of them, are each worth 2. 5 plus 2 plus 2 is going to give me 9. Now, when I look at this last problem where they want to know the value of this particular equation or expression, I notice that the chicken sandwich is going to be worth 5. And there's a plus sign. The fries up here, when there was 2 chicken sandwiches, 2 fries, they were equal to 2. But down here I only have 1 fry. So if 2 fries are worth 2, 1 fry is going to be worth just 1. Times, and then we have the cup, and I know the cup is 10. Now, I give this problem to students, and they often come up with 2 answers. Only one of them is correct. Some students will say the answer is 60. Some students will say that the answer is 15. So let's look at what they did. To get 60, I had to take 5 plus 1 first. Then multiply it by 10. To get 15, I took 1 times 10 first, and then added 5. Only one of these is correct. Same equation, 2 different answers. This is exactly why we need to follow a set of rules that tell us which calculation comes first. So when we look at please excuse my dear Aunt Sally or order of operations, PEMDAS, what we notice is that we have a P followed by an E, followed by an M and a D on the same line, and an A and an S. Those letters all stand for different mathematical operations or different things in math. The P is going to stand for parentheses. Parentheses are also going to include brackets and braces. Anytime you see anything set in parentheses, brackets, or braces, you're going to do that first. Next, excuse, E stands for exponents. So I'm going to put an X in anything with that little number above. In this case, I have a 2 up there. Anytime you see exponents, they're going to happen next. And of course, with M and D and A and S, those all stand for our typical math operations. M stands for multiply, D stands for divide, A stands for add, and S stands for subtract. This is the order in which we do operations. So if I go back to my Chick-fil-A problem, I look at what we're supposed to do first, which is parentheses, and I look back at that equation. I don't have any parentheses, so I'm going to skip that. I'm then going to go to exponents. I look back at my problem. I don't see any exponents. So then I come to multiplication and division. Now the reason why multiplication and division are on the same line is because we do them at the same time, starting just like we read on the left-hand side of the equation, moving over to the right. So we're going to start on this side and move over to the right. So when I look at this problem, do I have any multiplication and division? Yes, I do. 1 times 10. So actually, according to order of operations, I have to take 1 times 10 before I get to the fourth step, which is adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting are done at the same time from left to right. So in this case, I would need to multiply 1 times 10 before adding 5. So 60 would be incorrect according to the order of operations. I would need to follow those, and the reason why we do is because of this Chick-fil-A problem. We want to follow a certain set of rules so that everyone can come to the same answer, that we're not treating it any differently. Let's take a look at a little bit harder of a problem, especially involving that P, which stands for parentheses, brackets, and braces. And so we have this problem down here, down below, 24 minus in braces 2 times in brackets, in parentheses 7 plus 3, parenthesis divided by 5, bracket, and then a brace. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to start up here with P, which stands for parenthesis. And I notice that we have 3 sets. Now, in order to solve this problem, I want to start with the one that's on the inside. And in most cases, that's going to be a parenthesis. So I'm going to find the parentheses first. There we go. Inside the parentheses is 7 plus 3. So I'm going to solve that first. Now you'll notice that as I go through this, I'm underlining what I'm solving and then writing the answer underneath. In this case, it's 10. And to keep it so I don't miss anything, I rewrite it, now taking out those parentheses since I've already solved for those parentheses. So I'm just carrying everything else down. Now that I've solved those parentheses, the next inside would be the bracket. And in this case, the problem I need to solve inside that bracket is 10 divided by 5. 10 divided by 5 is the same thing as 5 times what number will give me 10, and I know that's 2. So I'm going to go ahead and write that 2. I'm going to get rid of those brackets, but I'm going to keep the braces. And I'm just carrying everything else down. Now, just like a parentheses, these braces still are containing part of that problem, and I need to solve that problem first. So the next one I'm going to do is 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And I'll carry everything else down. Now in this case, there are no exponents, multiplication, and division. There's only addition and subtraction. So I'm going to skip right down there and go ahead and solve it. 24 minus 4 is equal to 20. Now, let's say, for example, in this problem here, had I had in parentheses 7 plus 3 times 2, I would, inside the parentheses, still need to follow my order of operations. So I would need to multiply before I add. So if I had this down here, I would need to take 3 times 2 and get 6 before adding it to the 7. So even inside parentheses, you still have to follow the order of operations. This is Unit 1, Lesson 2 on order of operations.